4 minutes before the biggest deal of your career collapses, your phone lights up with a single text from the biggest client on your roster. I'm done. Find someone else. You are 55 years old. You built this agency from nothing. It is worth $500 million, and right now, none of that matters. Because if she walks, 3 other clients walk with her, and the board meeting in 20 minutes could end your career in 1 sentence. This is level 7, but let's start at level 1, because there are 7 levels between where you are now and where you will end up. And the shocking part is this: less than 2% of the people who start at level 1 ever make it past level 4. You are 21 years old. You have a communications degree, a LinkedIn photo you took in a bathroom mirror, and an unpaid internship at a boutique talent management firm in Los Angeles that represents, among other things, a reality TV contestant and a YouTuber with 4 million subscribers. Your monthly stipend is $400. It does not cover your rent. Your job is to carry coffee, log call sheets, and sit outside conference rooms holding a tablet in case someone inside needs a number pulled up in under 10 seconds. Your manager, a woman named Priya who has been doing this for 11 years, looks at you on your first day and says, "You are not here to learn the business. You are here to prove you will not embarrass us in front of a client." That is the whole job description. You laugh because you think she is joking. She is not. The personal cost at this level is invisible until it isn't. You work 60 hours a week for $400 a month, which means you are effectively paying to be here, because you still owe rent, still owe your parents an explanation, still owe yourself an answer to why you are 21 and broke in a city where broke means something different than it did back home. You stop calling your college friends because there is nothing to say that doesn't sound like a complaint. You tell yourself this is temporary. 94% of interns in this industry quit within 8 months. You do not quit, and 18 months later, you get a real title. You are 23 now, Junior Talent Coordinator, $38,000 a year, which, after LA rent, leaves you with roughly $400 a month of breathing room, ironically, the exact number you used to survive on as an intern. Except now you have a desk, a company email, and your first real responsibility: managing the schedule of a mid-tier client, an actress with 2 Netflix credits, and a growing but fragile fan base. The structural problem at this level is that you are the buffer. When the client is angry, you absorb it first. When a paparazzi photo leaks at 2 a.m., you are the one who gets the call, not your boss. Your boss, a senior manager named Derek, tells you flatly, "Your job is to make sure I never have to know about the small fires. Only bring me the ones that can burn the building down." You learn to sleep with your phone on your chest. At 27, you become a talent manager. $85,000 a year, your own small roster of 3 clients, and for the first time, your name on contracts instead of just your initials on internal memos. This is the level where the industry starts eating your personal life on purpose, not by accident. You miss your sister's wedding rehearsal because a client's tour bus broke down in Nashville, and the label needed someone on the ground within 6 hours. Your sister does not speak to you for 2 months. Your therapist, whom you started seeing at 26 because the anxiety got physical, asks you a simple question: whose life are you actually managing right now, theirs or yours? You do not have an answer, but you keep the appointment book full anyway, because at this level, the client who trusts you enough to call you at 3 a.m. instead of your boss is the client who eventually brings you along when they get bigger. And one of yours is about to get much, much bigger. 32 years old, Senior Talent Manager, $220,000 a year, a real title, a real office, and a roster that now includes an artist whose single just went triple platinum. This is where the math of the industry finally makes sense to you, because your income is still a fraction of what your clients generate, but your exposure to blame is total. When the artist's publicist leaks the wrong statement to a tabloid, it is your name in the internal incident report, not the publicist's. Your boss at this level, a partner named Michael, sits you down and says something you will repeat to yourself for years. Nobody remembers who managed the good years. Everybody remembers who was in the room during the bad ones. Be in the room. Your marriage, which started in your late 20s full of promise, starts to quietly erode, not through a single fight, but through 600 missed dinners, stacked one on top of another, until your spouse stops asking when you'll be home and starts simply not asking at all. If you have ever wondered what it actually costs to be the person behind the person everyone recognizes, hit subscribe, because this series goes level by level through every industry that runs on other people's fame. By 39, you make partner. $600,000 a year, equity in the agency itself, and a corner office with a view you barely have time to look at. You now oversee 11 managers underneath you, which means the fires you used to absorb personally are now other people's fires, until they aren't. The structural problem at this level is that you have stopped managing talent and started managing managers, and the emotional labor doesn't disappear, it just gets one layer more abstract and somehow heavier. A junior manager under you, 26 years old, crying quietly in the hallway after a client screamed at her for 40 minutes over a scheduling mistake that wasn't even hers, looks at you and asks, "Does it get better than this?" You want to say yes. What you actually say is, "It gets different." That's the most honest answer you have left in you. 47 years old, managing partner, effectively co-CEO of the division, $2.4 million a year between salary, bonuses, and profit share. You now sit in rooms with record label executives, streaming platform heads, and lawyers who bill more per hour than you made in your first 3 years combined. The structural problem here stops being about client fires entirely and becomes about the business itself. You are personally liable, in ways junior staff never see, for contracts worth tens of millions of dollars. One bad clause, one missed renewal date, one client who feels undervalued and walks to a competitor with their entire entourage, and the agency doesn't just lose revenue, it loses credibility in an industry where credibility is the only real currency. Your father, watching you take a call during his 70th birthday dinner, doesn't yell at you. He just says quietly, "You used to call me back within a day. Now I'm lucky if it's a week." You apologize. You take the next call anyway. And then there is the top, the level almost nobody outside the industry can name, because the public thinks the biggest job in celebrity management is being a manager. It isn't. It's founding and running the agency itself. 55 years old, founder and CEO of an agency now valued at $500 million, representing a roster of 40 artists, athletes, and public figures whose combined social reach touches 9 figures of people. Your salary on paper looks almost modest compared to your equity, $420,000 a year in direct compensation, because the real wealth sits in ownership that only becomes real money if you sell or if the agency goes public. The structural problem at this level is the one nobody warns you about. You no longer manage people. You manage risk at a scale where a single client scandal can wipe out years of valuation overnight, where insurance companies and private equity investors now have more say over your decisions than your own instincts do. This is the level where that text message finds you, "I'm done, find someone else," 4 minutes before a board meeting that will decide whether the fund backing your agency renews its investment or walks. Here is the part the cold open didn't tell you. The client doesn't actually walk. Your head of artist relations, a woman you personally promoted from talent manager to partner 11 years ago, the same one who once cried in a hallway asking if it gets better, calls the client directly, off the record, and talks her down in 9 minutes using a relationship she built over years you were too busy to notice she was building. She saves the deal. She saves your board meeting. And in that moment, you understand the real price of $500 million. It was never your price to pay alone. It was paid in installments by every manager underneath you who absorbed a fire so you wouldn't have to, by every relationship you missed while someone else's father, sister, or spouse quietly kept your name in good standing so the machine kept running. The agency has your name on the door, but it runs on the invisible layer of people still climbing the same 7 levels you climbed. And somewhere in that building right now, there's a 21-year-old intern living on $400 a month who has no idea she just saved your empire. Every level up the ladder, you told yourself the view would eventually be worth the climb. Maybe it is. $500 million is real. The house is real. The name recognition is real. But so is the wedding rehearsal you missed. The birthday dinner interrupted. The marriage that thinned out one missed dinner at a time. The version of yourself at 21 who thought this business was about the stars, before you learned it was actually about the machinery holding them up, level by invisible level, the whole way down. Next time on this series, we go inside the 7 levels of the professional sports agent world, from the 22-year-old scouting assistant sleeping in his car outside college stadiums, to the agent who negotiates a $400 million contract and still misses his own son's championship game to close it. Tell me in the comments, which level would you have walked away at, and which one do you think you'd tell yourself was worth it?